Hello. Hello? Hmm. Switch over to this one. Hello. Hello. Let's see. Can I see myself? No. Uh-uh. How come my video is not showing on YouTube? Mhm. My channel. Google. Sign up. You can't read it. Let's see. I can. Your data on YouTube. View your channel. Oh, wake up and think clearly. Channel. Let's see. Live. Tantricness. Okay. Sorry. Hello, friends, enemies, kind mothers, strangers. There is a tantricness to this. I was reading a book on tantric Buddhism in East Asia, and I focused on, I don't know what chapter it was, chapter 4 or so, because the previous chapters were maybe one on tantric Buddhism in China, tantric Buddhism in Korea, and another one on a particular form in Korea. And then there's there's one on tantric Buddhism in Japan, but that's not the title of that chapter. It was more like Kukai's. It's a saint from, well, not a saint in our way of thinking, a you could say highly regarded Buddhist master, teacher, scholar, founder of temples, influencer in Japan in the, dare I say, eighth century. And so his name is Kukai, or one of his names. So the article is on Kukai's translation of oh, Kukai writes a something explaining the doctrine. Maybe I haven't read it all, but and then this Japanese guy, translates it and gives an introduction to it. So I just been reading the introduction. Anyway, it's on tantric Buddhism in Japan, you could say. So I was thinking that, okay, there's tantric Buddhism, there's tantric Hinduism. So what is tantric? What makes something tantric? Well, there's supposed to be textbooks. Usually they end with the word tantra. It might end with the word sutra, but that's not. that's not good to finish it with the word sutra. Well, when you say sutra, you think, well, in Buddhism, you think of sutra as being the teachings of the Buddha himself. Well, maybe not. It's supposed to be thought of that way, the words of the Buddha, but not always so. Well, when you look at the Pali Canon, the works in the Pali Canon, they don't name them sutras like this. They have their own names, the Diga Nikaya, things like that. But I'm thinking that tantric this and that. What makes something tantric? Well, there's the word tantrayana. Hmm. Uh, what I'm trying to get at, well, tantrayana is maybe another way of saying vajrayana, maybe not. Hmm. Yana means vehicle, so there's hinayana, mahayana, vajrayana, but vajrayana is under mahayana. You could say it's a subset. Hmm. So the the goal of tantra, if it were considered a philosophy, the goal or the motivation, if you could think of tantra as a path, then the motivation would be the attainment of Buddhahood in this present body. So that would involve practicing not just physical yogas but mental yogas, where in physical yoga you would get your body into a pretzel or whatever, but not necessarily so. You would practice your breathing. You would do breathing exercises, pranayama. And getting your body into a pretzel would be the asanas. Well, that's not what you're supposed to do, get your body into a pretzel, but I'm just exaggerating, but yeah, there's postures that you get into, and you maybe meditate and breathe and do breathing exercises with them. You meditate as in maybe you visualize certain things while you're in a posture. Hmm. Maybe you do prayers while you're in a posture, or mantras. Maybe you visualize your chakras, or you think about them, or you pay attention to certain parts of the body. Maybe that moves or that turns on your chakras. Let's see. So tantra, if it's a path and if it has an objective, of course, then that would be the objective of Buddhism would be to attain enlightenment. But Buddhism, that would be the ultimate goal of Buddhism, to attain enlightenment. But in general, you can be a Buddhist by birth, and you're not really interested in attaining enlightenment in this life. You just want to be good and do good things, and maybe go to the temple and do whatever. Maybe support the temple, be a good Buddhist, like being a good Christian, I guess. So you're not really too concerned about the spiritual. You just want to have a good life now, and maybe get protection, mental protection from by going to a temple. Hmm. But let's say you're gung ho about the path, and you want to see if you can attain enlightenment or really advance spiritually in this life. Then you would probably end up uh, discovering Tantric Buddhism, as in Vajrayana in Tibet, and then Shingon in Japan. so that's so the tantricness of something would be the urgency of attaining certain levels of development, spiritual development. Hmm. And that would require mm, training, more intensive training, I would suppose. And so, so I was reading the book of Matthew, that's in the New Testament, the Gospel of Matthew. Then I got to chapter 5, that's the Beatitudes. And I learned that there are levels of the verses. There's most of them are structured in happy are those who do this or that or have this attitude, and they will gain that accomplishment, you could say. Or if not, if it doesn't say happy are those, then it will say blessed are those. Different translations have it expressed differently. So I got around to learning that there were levels of teaching in in the in these sayings of Jesus. There are those that designed for the general public, and those that are probably going to go over the heads of people in the public because they were probably designed for Jesus's closest disciples or those people that would want to get on the Jesus path, that as in the tantric Jesus path, the tantric Jesus path. Uh, and those are things like if you get slapped on one cheek, show the other cheek, basically, those kind of things. And in Tibetan Buddhism, I guess you could say they 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 have traditions of they have traditions of maintaining uh, they have traditions of maintaining a tantric path, uh, a tantric view, a tantric attitude. And so, for example, when I talk about my kind mothers, like hello, friends, enemies, strangers, kind mothers. So, kind mothers refers to a tantric view, a tantric view. So, what does that mean? So that is a conviction that you view all, all sentient beings as having existed since beginningless time. Taking rebirths, because we're in samsara, so we're going undergoing a cycle of birth, living in this body or whatever body you got, and then death, and then popping out of that body and going to get another body. So whenever you go through birth, you have you happen to have a mother that nourishes your body in her womb. So we are indebted to that sentient being for carrying us. So that is the tantric view of that, that recognizing that that uh, and wondering about it. Wow, all these kind mothers. I I I maybe didn't properly thank them. Or maybe I got a chance to take care of them when I was born born to them in those particular lives. Maybe I got a chance to pay them back in some way. Maybe take care of them when they were old in some way. So, but that's let's say you have an infinite number of kind of births and deaths. So you have, let's say that there's a finite number of of sentient beings. So let's say that because a planet starts off with few beings and it grows to a large number, and then it destroys itself with a nuclear explosion. So all these sentient beings have to leave that planet and go to another planet to start the process again. So hmm, I'd like to read a verse 5 from what amounts to uh, 8 verses. Verse 5 is there are 8 verses. What's titled 8? Make sure I get it right. 8 verses 4. The number 4, not really the number 4. That's FOR actually. But that's to remind me that it's not to or on, that they use for training the mind. 8 verses for training the mind. So if you can remember these 8 verses, you will be training your mind in a tantric way. So the verse 5 is interesting. Whenever others, because of their jealousy, treat me badly with abuse, insult, slander, or in other unjust ways, may I accept this defeat myself and offer the victory to others. So that's a hard one. Why is so I noticed that the the I don't want to say commands, the suggestions, the recommendations for practice seem to be very hard. So that's the tantric way. The tantricness of a teaching is its difficulty to carry out. So, but that's okay because in the tantric path, it's not about success, accomplishments. Well, yeah, it is, but with a coach and their guidance, maybe you can accomplish this this recommendation. So, what is verse 5 about? Learning to accept loss and defeat for ourselves and offering gain and victory to others is the very foundation of the bodhisattva practice. Although it may appear at the worldly view that we suffer loss by way of this practice, ultimately the practitioner receives the greatest benefits of spiritual wealth and virtue. And in learning to accept harsh or unjust treatment, we should not allow ourselves to react with anger, behave in the same non virtuous ways in return, or to abandon others because of their actions toward us. This is the essence of accepting defeat and offering the victory, and the accomplishment of supreme patience and kindness. By accepting defeat and offering the victory to others with pure motivation or of heartfelt compassion, we destroy the ignorance of our self cherishing at its very roots. So, destroying self cherishing at its very roots. What would that be like? That's something to think about. And is is that like a characteristic of a tantric path? Thank you very much. Hope this helps. Well, it's helping me to just be able to think about this. I dedicate